Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today, to wrap up 2023, I thought it would be fun to do a little Q&A because it has been forever since I've done one. So I have a lot of pent-up advice to give you guys, so let's get into it. And I actually asked for submissions for this video over on my Instagram story. So if you would like to participate in future videos or you're not already following me over there, be sure to give me a follow at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over there as well. So I tried to choose a mix of questions. Some of them will be ones that I thought could apply to a lot of you, questions that I get a lot from you guys that I figured would be good to answer on a larger scale video like this. Some of them are personal about me, less of those, and they'll be towards the end. So if you want to stick around to see more of that, be sure to watch until the very end. Also, a bit of a spicy question in here, which I don't typically do on my channel. So we're venturing into new territory today. Okay, the first one is dating advice for late bloomers and or guys who have limited dating experience. This is a question that I get so often, which is why I put it as number one. I get this in my DMs every day. I see it on an old video, a new video in my comment section every single day. I think it's a big concern for a lot of people, especially guys. I think a lot of guys who are inexperienced often feel overwhelmed and intimidated by dating, partially because I know there are women who claim to not want to date a guy who has no experience, or that's what you see online, but also because you've just never done it before, and therefore it's not familiar to you. Doing anything new can feel scary and intimidating, but I wouldn't let your limited dating experience or being a late bloomer hold you back from just putting yourself out there. Own your inexperience instead of letting it own you, I think is my biggest piece of advice. And honestly, I don't think this is something that you need to make your identity or something that you bring up with the women that you're dating. Like, you don't need to come out on the first date and say, hey, by the way, I've never had a girlfriend and I'm a virgin. I would recommend not bringing it up and not saying anything. If someone asks you, just simply say that you've been prioritizing other things. You do not need to include every detail. You don't need to explain yourself or justify it. Just say that you've been prioritizing other things. I'll also say this, having experience can help in a lot of different areas of life, but there are just certain things that are going to change from person to person. A prime example here is not every woman likes the same thing in the bedroom. A guy could have a ton of experience with other women, and that doesn't automatically mean that he's going to be better than someone who is less experienced. I think learning is the only skill you need here. Inexperience doesn't automatically mean that women won't find you attractive, but your behavior surrounding it will. And also rest assured knowing that the statistics are kind of reflecting this as well. People are now waiting until later in life to get married, to have children. If you're a late bloomer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are never going to find love or that's not a possibility for you. So don't be too hard on yourself about that either. I think a lot of people who feel inexperienced almost pre-reject themselves, like they don't even try or put themselves out there because they feel like they don't have a chance, which just isn't true. Again, it doesn't need to be this big elephant in the room that so many people make it out to be. The next question is where to meet women other than bars for introverted men. Honestly, a bar would not be something I would recommend for extroverted people either. I don't really think it's a great place to meet someone. I'm sure there are exceptions and some of you have met wonderful people at bars, but that just wouldn't be on my top list of recommendations. And before I answer this one, I also want to say I've done a handful of videos about dating as an introvert and how you can use being an introvert to your advantage in dating. So if you haven't seen those videos already, you might really benefit from that. So definitely go check them out. But in terms of where to meet women other than bars, the first thing that comes to mind for men who are a little bit more introverted is a mutual friend, because there's already going to be a level of comfort and trust there given the fact that you have this mutual connection. I think this is a wonderful way to meet people if you're lucky enough to meet someone this way in real life through a mutual friend that you trust and you get along with already. That can be a great place to start. That one kind of depends on who your friends are and it won't work for all of you, but if you're able to meet someone through a mutual friend, I think that's a really great way to meet someone. The next one would be a hobby or sort of a group for the specific hobby that you're in. So if you're into reading, join a local book club. If you're into working out, take a local fitness class. A group atmosphere for a specific hobby is a really wonderful way to meet someone because you already have something in common and you're at the event to talk about said thing that you have in common, which is the easiest conversation starter ever. And it just can be a really organic, natural way to meet someone who you already know that you have something in common with. And my next suggestion would be one that I'm going to get a lot of pushback for, but I think it's worth mentioning, and that is online dating. This doesn't work for everyone, of course, but I do think that it is worth a shot. Now, disclaimer, I would not limit yourself to this. Definitely try other things as well. Don't let this be the only thing that you're doing, but give it a try. I'm an introvert, and this is how I met my husband. And actually, looking at the statistics here, in 2023 alone, 384 million people worldwide were expected to use online dating. Online dating is actually most popular within the US, with 21.9% of the population using it, and actually 2 in every 5 couples have met online. So I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it does work for some people, and I think it's worth giving a shot if you're also attempting to do other things as well. Again, I wouldn't let this be the only thing that you're doing or the only method that you're using to meet someone, because I don't think it works for everyone, but if you're just giving it a try in addition to some other things, it can be really beneficial. Okay, the next question is, best way to put yourself back in the dating market 6 months post-breakup? First of all, I would say good for you for really giving yourself time to heal. I think that's really important after a breakup, so that you're able to really reflect on that relationship and take that knowledge with you into your next relationship. So, round of applause to you. Great that you did that. But my advice would be to just go for it. You can ease yourself into it by going on a few dates and checking in with yourself after each one to see how you're feeling. Do you know what you're looking for? Do you know what you're not looking for? Are the women that you're dating sort of aligning with that? If you feel like you're at a good place, you're ready to move on, you're healing from your last relationship, I think it's wonderful to try and meet new people and open up that area of your life again. But really, I do think it's so important to give yourself that time to heal and to reflect after a relationship ends, and really be able to pinpoint the pros and the cons, what didn't work, what led to the relationship not working out, what was going well, so that you can take that knowledge with you into your next relationship. It can make your next relationship that much better if you really take the time to reflect. But again, if you feel like you're at a good place, I think it's so worth it to just put yourself back out there and go for it. Okay, next question here is our spicy one, and that is, any tips for married men looking to keep their wives' physical interest up? By keeping physical interest up, I'm assuming that you mean intimacy. I'm sorry if you meant something else, and that's just the way that I'm taking it, but that's how I'm going to answer it. I have a lot of single guys that follow my channel, but believe it or not, I actually have a good amount of married men who watch my content to try to work on their marriage and just tips for making their marriage stronger. So that is why I chose this question. And for this one, I would say there's not really a one size fits all, right? We're all different. What works for one couple might not work for another. But if I was giving general advice, there are things that I would say here from a woman's perspective. The first thing would be really communicating and connecting emotionally. Having good conversations, connecting on a deep level. You would be surprised how many people are just in autopilot mode and they aren't trying to get to know each other anymore. They aren't asking how their day was and actively listening. They really aren't having these deep connections, and that's leading to less of a connection intimately. And for women, a huge part of intimacy is feeling emotionally safe, emotionally supported, connected to your partner. The more you communicate and deeply connect emotionally outside of the bedroom, it's more likely to lead to more connection in the bedroom and better intimacy between the two of you. I definitely don't want to speak for everyone here, but I think men typically tend to be more physical. Like, they can just do it anytime, anywhere. They're always ready to go. They don't really need that mental stimulation or emotional connection as much as women do. So I think when a lot of guys hear this, they don't really understand how intimacy works for women, but we need to be warmed up, right? We have foreplay, but there's also the element before that even happens of really being able to connect emotionally with you and feel safe, secure, stable, and again, just emotionally connected to you. It's a bit of a warm-up to actual intimacy. My next tip here would be to show affection outside of just sex. Hold her hand when you're out somewhere, give random hugs, kiss her, come up behind her and wrap your arms around her. This allows us to physically connect with you through more than just sex alone. I think it's really important to show affection and intimacy outside of the bedroom too. I think when people hear the word intimacy, they automatically think of sex, but intimacy in a relationship is far deeper than that. It's connecting emotionally, it's feeling safe, it's being vulnerable, it's opening up to each other. And I think when you really start to nourish those other elements of intimacy as well, this can carry over in a positive way to what happens in the bedroom. Next tip is don't be selfish. Make sure you're prioritizing her needs as well and not being selfish in the bedroom. When you prioritize your wife's needs first, your sex life will change for the better. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Take that as you will, but don't be selfish. And my next tip would be just to spice things up. Obviously, this is going to depend on you and your partner and what you guys are into, but don't be afraid to switch things up a little bit and have some fun. Obviously, a big part of this is communication and being open with each other, but I think this can be a really great way for people who've been in long-term relationships to keep things fun and exciting. And I can do a whole video on topics like this. If you guys would want to see it, please let me know. I've been a little hesitant to breach these kind of topics just because I don't necessarily love to get spicy as people in my life watch my videos. My parents watch some of my videos and it is a bit awkward, but I'm a married woman, okay, so I think it's okay if I talk about things like this. So if you guys would want to see it, please let me know. Next question is, if a man had to choose one outfit to go on a first date, what would it be? Unfortunately, I'm going to give you a bit of an annoying answer, but I chose this question for a reason. I think this totally depends on what you're doing, where you're going, where you live. I mean, there are a lot of factors to consider here, but because this one is nuanced, my best advice is to try to have a general understanding of dressing appropriately for the setting that you're in. Understand dress codes, understand that there's a time and a place. You can wear your old ratty graphic t-shirt to sleep, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend wearing it to a fancy dinner or a first date, right? So understand the time and the place for things, know different dress codes. It's really going to depend on so many different factors, so I don't have a direct, straightforward answer here. But my best advice for this one is really understand where you're going and what is appropriate for where you're going. Of course, it's also important to know and keep in mind that you're making a first impression, so putting effort into your appearance is definitely something that I would encourage. You only get one shot to make a first impression, so make it a good one. If it's something that you care about, you should want to put your best foot forward. And some of you will say, well, I shouldn't have to dress nice to get a girl to like me, or I shouldn't have to take care of my hygiene in order to, make a good first impression. You can do whatever you're going to do, but you're going to have a better chance of getting the outcome that you want if you put your best foot forward, you make a good first impression, you take a freaking shower, and show up as your best self, okay? You do you, but that's what I would recommend. Next question is, what is your best advice about meeting new people after moving to a new city? My advice for this one might overlap a little bit with the advice I gave about meeting women. I found that one of the easiest ways is to join a local community or group for a thing that interests you, like a hobby or something like that. I think this is a really organic way to meet people, again, that you already have something in common with, which can really help with making you feel more comfortable and engage in a conversation that's going to flow pretty naturally because you already have something to talk about right off the bat. So that's a really great way to meet someone. Again, this will look so different depending on you and what your interests are and what you're into and all of that. What you do for work. This could be a networking event as well. If you're really into entrepreneurship, maybe you join an entrepreneurship group that's local to your city, and this is a great way for you to not only help your business, but also to meet people. But something that worked for me, and something that actually has been the number one thing that has worked for me, is messaging people on Instagram. Now, I know this won't apply to all of you. I think this can be different for men and for women, but if you're a woman watching this, I think that can be a really organic way to meet people. I've met some of my closest friends now in Cleveland through just messaging them on Instagram. I'm actually grabbing dinner with one of my closest friends tonight who I met on Instagram. She moved to Florida, but she's back in town for the week, for the holidays, and we're grabbing dinner. After college, I'm not kidding when I tell you, every single friend I had moved away to a different state. All my college friends moved away, and all my other friends that I had were back in my hometown in Cincinnati. So I literally had nobody here. I had to start fresh, and I made some really wonderful friends through just messaging them on Instagram and connecting that way, or through mutual friends. Mutual friends is a great way to know people too, but if you're starting fresh in a city and you don't know anyone, then that advice really wouldn't apply to you. So I think joining a sort of local group or community or something for the hobbies that you're interested in, could even be volunteering or something like that, but also just shooting your shot and sending them a message has worked for me too. Okay, my next question is, what is your opinion on how sustainable long-distance relationships are, especially for younger couples in college? I'm going to answer this as someone who was in a long-distance relationship in my college years. It's definitely difficult, but it's possible if both of you are on the same page and continue to think in a long-term way. If you're too focused on instant gratification and you fail to see the big picture and fail to see things long term, it's not going to work out. I know couples who did long distance in college and they're still together or they're married now. And I also know couples who it didn't work out for. So I think it really boils down to the couple and the effort and the energy that each person is willing to put in. It requires an immense amount of communication and really making sure that you guys are on the same page. My long distance relationship did not work out because he was seeing other people and I was not. So we were just not on the same page about that. So I think really being on the same page, being loyal, being honest with each other, communicating really well. I think a lot of things that would not be a big deal at all when you're in a normal, in the same city type of relationship become a big deal when you're long distance. You just really have to be so dialed in on the long-term goal and the bigger picture and really making sure that you're communicating effectively and you're on the same page. So I would say this one is probably 50-50. I don't want to scare anybody and say it never works out because that's not true. It does work out for a lot of people. I know some couples personally who, again, did the long distance thing and it works out. Didn't work out for me and a bunch of other people that I know, but it works out for some people. So, just like anything else with dating, it's not necessarily black and white and it's very nuanced depending on you and your relationship. So keep that in mind, but really biggest advice there would be to make sure that you're on the same page, you're communicating, and you're seeing the big picture. Next is favorite wintertime cologne for men. Ooh, great question. I love any questions about fragrances and fashion. Love it. I'm thinking of a few off the top of my head that I've been loving lately. These are ones that my husband has been wearing a lot, and I would probably say Prada Luna Rosa Black, one of the OGs that I always recommend because it is so sexy. Love it. Maison Margiela Jazz Club, Boozy, Tobacco, delicious, sexy, nonchalant. Love that one too. And Parfum de Marly Layton. These are all really solid choices. They're very warm and cozy and just remind me of a lovely date night. Also, I will say about Parfum de Marly Layton, if you don't have a niche fragrance, I think that's a really great one to start with just because it is so versatile, it's mass appealing, it's very safe, and I am obsessed with that fragrance. My husband wears it all the time and I never get sick of it. So very solid choice if you are looking to make your first niche purchase. I've also done a handful of fragrance videos, so if you're interested in any more of my fragrance content or you need recommendations, go watch those. I actually wanted to address this here as well while we're in a Q&A style format. I had a fragrance channel with my husband and we had so much fun. It was a blast. We loved doing it. Unfortunately, we were both just far too busy with our own channels and our own businesses to be able to dedicate the needed time to keep that channel going in a productive way and be able to put in the level of production that we were doing. I think we were doing a fabulous job. We grew our channel so quickly because it was so different than anything else in the fragrance community. And I'm really proud of what we did over there. And even now, even though we're not posting new videos, we still have a lot of really great ones. If you haven't seen those, definitely be sure to check them out. But I just wanted to give a little update that the fragrance channel is no more. Never say never. I don't know what will happen in the future, but for now, we have taken a temporary pause on that channel as we're both just having to focus on our own businesses. Next question here is there such thing as too nice, and how do women respond to it? Yes, my friend, there is such thing as too nice, and all of you need to make sure that you are not entering that territory. There is a big difference between being a nice guy and being a good guy, in my opinion, and women do not respond well to guys that are too nice. This lands you straight into the friend zone or ghosted and rejected altogether, or being used, which none of those are great. Being too nice isn't good for you either, though. I think this shows that you lack self-respect, that you let people walk all over you, that you're a pushover, that you don't follow through with your boundaries or you don't have boundaries, or that you're only being nice to get something in return, which isn't really being nice at all. So it just never works out for you. Too nice could entail things like putting her on a pedestal, ignoring your boundaries, like I said, a lack of self-respect, letting her use you and not reciprocate any effort or energy, or chasing her, which is a huge no-no that I would not recommend any of you be doing. I've done a lot of videos about this, the difference between a nice guy and a good guy, how to make sure you're not chasing her, how to make sure you're not being clingy and desperate. So if you need a little bit of help in that area or just want to make sure that you're not being a guy that is too nice, definitely go check those out. The next question made me laugh and I had to include it. It is, he's a 7, but he has a British accent. If you've been around for a while, you'll probably remember when I did the videos with the girls where I would give them a guy and a number with like a little explanation, and they had to say if it increased his number score or decreased his number score. So maybe some of you guys will remember when I did those videos. I think they are so much fun. They're very lighthearted, and I just had a lot of fun making those. But he's a 7 and he has a British accent. I'm gonna give an 8 for this one because if he's a 7, he's already attractive, right? I mean, I think a voice can be one of the sexiest things about a man, and the British accent definitely adds a bonus point. So I'm giving him an 8. Let me know some other little questions like that you have down below. Again, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Another example I could give is he's a 5, but he has a boat. I think I asked that in one of the videos I did, and then the girls would be like, oh, he's a 7 now because he has a boat. Again, that's just a really silly example, but if you have any others below that you want to answer, I think those could be really fun, and I would love to do a video like that again just because I had fun doing those, and they were more lighthearted than some of the other content that I did. Okay, next question is, what is the best dating and relationship advice you've ever heard in your life? It's really hard to just narrow this down to one thing, but something that's coming to mind at this point in my life and something that I think would have really helped my younger self in terms of dating and the relationships that I was in would be who you choose as a partner is a direct reflection of your emotional development. I think understanding this would help so many people in terms of choosing a partner that is actually a good match for you, who you're genuinely compatible with, and also making sure that you're taking the time to work on yourself and really get to the root of your issues and maybe why you respond and react to things the way that you do, or why you're attracted to what you're attracted to. This can show you a lot about your attachment style. But I think the more emotionally mature you are and the more emotionally developed you are, you're going to attract that as well. And you're going to be less likely to end up with someone who is not a good match for you in that regard. But I think this is something that could really help people choose better partners and also heal themselves in the process and really, again, get to the root of their problems and really try to heal themselves. Honestly, some of the best dating and relationship advice that I've heard has come from Dr. Nicole LePera, who is known as the holistic psychologist. If you don't follow her already, please go check her out. She posts the most incredible content over on Instagram. She posts wonderful videos here on YouTube as well. I have no connection to her other than being such a huge fan of her content and what she's doing in this space of the internet and just for mental health in general. So I just love her. She gives a ton of wonderful advice and honestly some of the best dating and relationship advice that I have ever heard. Okay, next question is, will you make a channel for women, fellow women here? Listen, I don't have a lot of women who follow me, so when I see one, I'm always really excited. No knock to you guys, I love you guys too, but it's just nice to know that there are women here who are following me as well. And I actually have great news for you, and that is that I have already started a new channel for women. I've wanted to do this for a while, and I plan to post a lot more over there in 2024. Up to this point, I've just been sharing a little bit more about myself over there. I've done some vlogs, I did a fragrance video, a fashion video, and I just feel like it's a little more personal. I'm able to really open up a bit more over there. I'm definitely pretty firm with my boundaries on this channel, and I keep myself a little more buttoned up, but if you're interested in getting to know me a little bit more, go follow me there, but also planning to post more content for women there as well. So I have it linked below in the description for you if you want to check it out, and if you do, let me know what topics you want to see from me over there. If you're a woman watching, do you want relationship advice? And I would love to eventually get into that as well. I do feel like a lot of the videos on this channel can apply to both men and women, but my audience is like 94% male, so that's who is viewing most of my content. And because I have a 94% male audience, my language and the way that I speak to my audience reflects that, right? So my thumbnails, my titles, the content of my videos are all sort of geared towards men because that's who I'm mostly speaking to. Although I do think that a lot of my content could also apply to women, but I would love to be able to package my content for a female audience so that more women are able to see it and are more likely to click on it. So let me know what topics you want to see over there. I would be more than happy to start posting that type of content on that channel as well. And the last question here, which was my most asked question by far, is, are you married? And again, this was my most asked question because I didn't share anything about my wedding. I didn't post any photos. I didn't share anything. I think I told you guys here on YouTube, but over on Instagram, I did not say a thing. But yes, I am married. I got married June 24th of this year. We had just a little intimate ceremony and dinner with 20 of our closest family members and friends. It was very low key, but it was incredibly special to be able to celebrate the day with the people that we love the most. So yes, I've been married for 6 months at this point. Still new to the game, obviously. This is another reason why I've tried to open up my content a little bit more to talk about relationships, how to be in a healthy relationship. Maybe I can do content about marriage. You guys can let me know what other type of videos you want to see as well, but I don't want to limit myself to just dating. I know I have a lot of single guys who follow me, like I said earlier, but I also have a lot of people in relationships and even people who are married following. So, the learning never stops. I think whether you are dating or in a 20-year marriage, there's always something to learn and always something that you can do to make your relationship that much better. And often it just starts with making yourself better. So definitely open to doing more content about that. You can let me know down below what you guys would want to see from me. But yes, I am married and I'm loving every bit of it. I know I'm only 6 months in, but things are going well. So guys, that is all I have for my 2023 end of the year Q&A. If you liked this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. Be sure to go check out my other channel as well that I'm linking below for you guys, and let me know what other topics you want to see on there. Let me know what you want to see on here going into 2024. Again, would love to open up my content to some different topics and do some things that I haven't done before. So I'm open to suggestions and I would just love to hear from all of you guys. Also just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for an amazing year here on YouTube. I just hit 650,000 subscribers yesterday at the time of filming this, which I just cannot believe. It's surreal that this is my job and that I get to connect with so many of you and help so many of you out. But I really just wanted to say thank you and let you know how lucky I feel to have this platform and be able to connect with all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year and a wonderful 2024 ahead. As always, thank you all so much for watching and I will see you all next time.